Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at J.R.R. Tolkien's translation of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It was republished in 2021 in the first edition here, which I'll link you to in the comments below. This also has two other short stories and in this sort of an epic poem style setup that are in here too that we're going to be doing next. Pearl will be the next one in this copy for you folks. Now, I've never read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's about 100 pages long in this book, oversized book, and so I knocked it out for the first time actually, and I went and read J.R.R. Tolkien's. Now, this was a passion project for him. He translated it early in his life, and then as he got near the end of his life, he knew that it was probably going to be published posthumously. So he spent part of his time going back and re-editing, changing some of the language around, and that sort of a thing. So this was published posthumously, but he knew it was probably going to get published, and so this is an awesome opportunity to get a chance to take a deep dive into this Arthurian legend that was published probably in the 14th century initially when it was written, and it doesn't have sort of the flair or the long-lastingness of Chaucer that the editor Christopher Tolkien mentions in his prelude to this book, and it was probably more for high profile people, and it's harder to read and harder to translate and so forth, and not as easy to read in modern day, so it needs to be translated according to Tolkien son. So he's also the editor, and he edits this, and we have his early edit, but this was published just after he died too, recently. So it's further. So there's another reintroduction by somebody else, and then after Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, there is a commentary for some while, and then after that is the next one. That I'm going to be doing a read here starting tonight. So I knocked this out over 4 days, 1 day for the two preludes by Tolkien and then by the other editor, and then I also have written in 3 days to knock this out proper. I knocked out a good half of it on Wednesday, and this is now Saturday that I'm recording this, and on Thursday and Friday probably knocked out another quarter or so. The half of it probably took me probably about an hour and 15 minutes for me to knock it out. And then the last two quarters were probably about 45 minutes each. So that gives you a rough time of how long it takes for you to read this. Now, again, this is my first time I've read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So what do I think about it? Because I've never read it. Like I just read J.R.R. Tolkien's translation of Beowulf and just published that for you too, right? Previously. Well, I had read Beowulf before when I was a kid in high school, so I have something to compare it to, right? Because I can say, okay, now what do I think and so forth. Obviously, I didn't read them recently, so I didn't have like a massive remembrance of it, but I've done it before, right? So I can come back to it. But here, this is something that I've just never read before, and so it has 4 different parts to it that you can read one at a time, although the third part's really long, so it takes a while. There are a couple of movies that are based on this. I watched one on cable and recorded it on VHS tape when I was a kid. I went back and watched it a couple of other times, and then there was a rated R film called The Green Knight that was published on an independent film that was published a few years ago. So this is still a beloved topic among other people. So basically your key character for this story is Sir Gawain, and what he does for you is that he is the nephew of King Arthur, and he has a table at the court with all the other major knights and all the major ladies and so forth, but because of his lineage, but he says that it's because of his blood, not because of his ability in combat. He says he's the least of the knights. So while banqueting for the holidays in December, they have a guest coming, the Green Knight, who arrives, and there's a few different verses describing the Green Knight for you, and then he asks for somebody to grant him a boon. And then it takes a while because most of the knights are scared by him because he's such an imposing figure, even though he's not wearing any armor. And his only weapon is a gisarm, polearm axe. And then he has, so it takes a while. The King Arthur steps up, but he's older now. And so Sir Gawain steps in front of him and says, "No, I'm going to take this challenge." And John, and so he does. And so the challenge is that he cuts off and gets one blow unaccepted for, and on the Green Knight. And then in a year's time, he has to go into the Green Knight's territory, into the Green Chapel, and then have him take one blow without pushing back against it, right? And receiving the same blow if the Green Knight survives. And so what winds up happening is that Sir Gawain delivers the blow. He cuts off the knight's head, but then the knight picks up his head and walks over and continues to talk with it. And so he's able to continue to have that conversation and clearly survive the mortal blow to his head. And now Sir Gawain has a year to get caught up, catch up with things, and then go on a quest. And so that's the first part. And it's about 10 pages long, so now you're 10 pages long, now you have the central sort of story of the short story. Now what happens in the last 3 parts, I'll leave to you. I think he's in the third part, probably for too long. It could probably be about 10 or 15 pages shorter, because I think the third part doesn't add anything major to the scene. It's an important part of the story. I get why it's there, but it just feels a little long. It feels like it's half the story, right, is the third part. So I'm only giving this, it's a classic, but I'm probably only giving this probably more like a 7.5 out of 10 because it's just so long, the third part, right? And there's just so many court scenes and so many scenes that are repeated over time. Now, I did find this pretty easy to read and put down and then pick up and then put down and pick up over time. And so on Wednesday, I knocked it out in 2 separate readings. The first was on my way to my doctor's office, and then at my doctor's office, and then waiting for my doctor to arrive after my first appearance, and then waiting for the Uber, and then on the ride home. I read about a quarter of it over the course of that. And I found that to be very, very easy for me to put it down, pick back up again, because each verse is separate from the other ones in this epic. So it's you can just read one verse, it's like a half a page, and then read the next verse, and then write and so forth. So you can easily just put it down and then pick it back up again, because each verse is sort of a separate sort of concept, So it's pretty easy to pick up and put back down again. So I knocked out half the book that day. So that was pretty good. So 4 days later, I've knocked out Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And then tonight we're going to start with the next one. It's about 40 pages long, so my guess is I'll probably knock it out over 2 days. 2 days, 20 pages today on Saturday, 20 days on Sunday, and I'll record it on Monday for you folks. There you go. That is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's translated by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. It's a classic. I'm sure some people would probably give it higher, but there's a reason why this isn't as beloved as some of the other Arthurian works that are out there. And a reason why it was for a higher audience, and why it doesn't read as well as Chaucer, right, according to Tolkien, who's an expert, right, and so forth. So, but it's still fun. I enjoyed reading it. I'm glad that I read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight for the first time, and I'm excited for the next one. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read it? J.R.R. Tolkien translation or another one? If so, what'd you think about it? If so, I'd be happy to talk with you further about it in the comments below. And if you want to talk about spoilers, which might keep my review spoiler free, let's do so. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. Also, as a reminder, the title of my channel, The Worst Thing About New Books, is a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about new books was that they kept us from reading the old ones. So I like to go back and read a lot of these things, and a 14th century work like this, even with a modern translation, is still a lot of fun. So this is definitely sort of the cues for the channel for you folks, and there you are. So finally, I just want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it in watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.